Alrighty, guys, so this is the spoiler review of Thor Love and Thunder. I'm going to get right into this and talk to you guys about my spoilers for this. So if you haven't seen Thor Love and Thunder, do yourself a favor, watch the movie, and then come back to this video and you get to watch this video if you have seen the movie. So let's get right into this. So Thor Love and Thunder, it's finally here. The movie's finally out. I watched it. I'm going to give you my spoiler review. So right off the bat, I want to do this like a kind of a quick spoiler review video. I don't want to really get too much into things. I mean, it's a spoiler review, so you do get too much into things, but I don't want to make it. All I'm saying is I don't want to make it this a very long video, so I'm gonna do my best as I can to not make this a long video. So right off the bat, in the movie, there's presented to us of like two origin stories for the characters of and Gore and Jane Foster. And within that, Gore's child dies in the beginning of the movie. We get to see that Gore's child dies, and he goes into this jungle where he sees this god, and in this god, the god pokes fun of him, and the god kills this dude with a necro sword, and in that uh, Gore is worthy of this necro sword, and that's how we get to see and kills the god, and that's how we see how Gore becomes Gore the God Butcher, in a way, and in that we see his origins of that and how he becomes in what his motive to kill the gods because his daughter dying and the things that are happening in that happened in his life, that the gods didn't listen to him, and now he's taking revenge and wants to kill the gods, basically. And then we get to see Jane Foster's story, and it is in the movie. It is confirmed that Jane Foster does have cancer, stage 4 cancer, and we see that she doesn't have that much time to really live, and within that, she hears that this Mjolnir, I always pronounce the names, Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, uh, uh, is calling to her, and she goes to New Asgard, and she sees this hammer, and she collects it, and then we get the introduction of her becoming Thor, the mighty Thor, and it's really cool to see the transition and the origins of this movie. And I personally really like both of these characters, even though I think their character development was, I think in my personal opinion, was rushed. I really personally liked their characters, and I liked the way they were presented. I think really those two actors really did such an incredible job. Christian Bale as Gore as a villain, and Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, Mighty Thor. And I think she was really incredible in this. And easily, I'd say she's the best in this one out of Thor 1 and 2. They elevated her character, and they elevated her character right, and I was really happy to really see that. And she's really badass in the movie, and Gore is also really badass, but he's also kind of like really creepy and funny in a way. And I think Christian Bale did such an amazing job with this character, and I think both of these actors did such an amazing job, and you really get to see that. Now you also get to see the Guardians of the movie. Now they're only half in the movie, so like you don't really get to see that much of him, but you see that Thor and the Guardians are work together, and you see in the beginning of the movie that they're fighting this battle, and in this battle, they must stop this other group, or this war from happening, this battle, and in that it's you see that the Guardians and Thor are together, and they're working together to stop to do jobs and stop bad guys in a way. So you get to see that in this movie, but you only get to see half of the Guardians, but you don't really see much of the Guardians, since they're saving that for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, in the movie, don't expect a tease of Guardians Volume 3. It doesn't tease in a way of what Guardians Volume 3 is. I personally don't think so. You just see that they leave, that, Thor handles the business of Gore the God Butcher, since, you see that Thor, that you see in the dialogues that Gore the God Butcher is dealing with this, that Gore the Butcher is killing all these gods, and Thor must handle this problem in a way. And now you see that they're both going separate ways, but you don't see a tease of Guardians of the Volume 3 or any mentions of what happened to Gamora or what's going on and things like that. You just see that they're both going separate ways, and that's how it basically is in this movie. So, yeah, you get to see that in this movie. What else do you get to see? What else do you get to see? What do you get to see? What do you get to see? What do you get to see? You see that you see New Asgard. You also get to see that in the movie. You get to see that New Asgard it's fully built, but there's also kind of this partnership to see if they could really make the town, like this conversation, this talk of paperworks, and if this town could be a town and all that. I don't know how to really say it like that or make it a word, how I say it a word, but they're establishing it as a town, and trying to establish it as this land that they're in. Because I think it's in Scotland, wasn't it? It's either Scotland or England that New Asgard is in. But you see that that they evolved New Asgard to new heights from Endgame, and now it's like you see that it had there's an ice cream place, there's an amusement park. There's a funny moment where Valkyrie does an Old Spice commercial, and it's a really funny part to it. And you see that it's now a thriving town. It's a thriving town. You see cruise ships, and it's very interesting to see this in the movie, and I was really happy about that. And I think it was really such a cool part to see New Asgard and its new feeling to New Asgard that we haven't seen for almost 3 years. So I was really happy about that. So yeah, you get to see that in this movie, but you also get to see that New Asgard is under attack, and that's where the main point of the story comes into play, where Gore the God Butcher kidnaps these kids, and Gore must recruit in the movie. Gore, Mighty Thor, Thor, Mighty Thor, Mighty Thor, Valkyrie, Korg, must recruit gods and stop this Gore, the God Butcher, once and for all, and get these kids back home in a way. So you see that, and you see that it's the main point of the story, and trying to get to see that. But you also get some plot lines that that Jane within this power that Jane has. You see that within this power, with the mighty Thor power, she becomes weaker and weaker with when one's taking off this power in a way. Because in this movie you see that once she grabs onto this mighty Thor power, she becomes a little bit more healthier and a little bit but once taking it off, she becomes really sick and doesn't really feel well, and you get to see that plot line in this movie, in a way. So yeah, and you also get to see and what else do you get to see? You also get to see the plot line of Zeus. You get to see Zeus in the movie, and Zeus is in this movie, but he's also in the movie. Zeus he's pretty funny in this movie. He's kind of in the movie, Russell Crowe's Zeus, he's a clown in a way and doesn't want to help, and he's kind of like this spoiled brat who has everything and just wants to be he just wants to be kind of like this schmuck and doesn't want to help Thor. But in a way, in this you see that Thor kills Zeus. Almost kills Zeus. I'll talk about that later. We think he kills Zeus. But how do I say this? How do I say this? You get to see that, and there's a big battle going on, and they head to try to capture Thor, Gore the God Butcher, and yeah, you get to see that in this movie. You also get to see in the movie Lady Sif, and that she in this movie she is injured, but I feel like, in my opinion, you don't really get to see that much of Lady Sif, and I think my expectations for this movie was that I really wanted to see a little bit more of Lady Sif, and I didn't like that she was only there for just a little while, and that's really about it. Because last two Thor movies, you get to see most of her, but you don't get to see most of her, and you only get to see a little bit of her in this movie. And I think they could have utilized more of Lady Sif. I think Lady Sif should have been on the team with Valkyrie and Mighty Thor. I think that would have been, and Korg as well. I think that would have been damn cool, and I would have loved to see that, in my opinion. And I was really, really disappointed that you don't really get to see that much of you know of Lady Sif, in my opinion. I think they could have utilized more of Lady Sif, in my opinion. Just in my opinion, I think, in a way, you probably might think differently, but I think there would have been. I think this movie should have had more Lady Sif. That's all. That's all I'm saying, in my opinion. So yeah, but you see in the movie that New Asgard is a thriving city, and it's being destroyed, and these kids are getting captured, and and in this movie they got to stop Gore the God Butcher, and oh yeah, and later becomes destroyed, but in Gore the God Butcher, Thor, Valkyrie, Mighty Thor, Korg must stop Gore the God Butcher. But oh yeah, in this you also see the return of the theater from Thor Ragnarok with Matt Damon, Luke Hemsworth, Luke with Chris Hemsworth, older brother, and you get to see Sam Neill, but you also get to see, and this is funny, you also get to see Melissa McCarthy back. You also get to see Melissa McCarthy back as how do I say this? You get to see Melissa McCarthy back as I wouldn't say back. Well, you get to see Melissa McCarthy as Hela this time. She wasn't back in anything. You get to see Melissa McCarthy as Hela in this movie, a fake stage Hela. And that was really such a funny part of the movie. I remember the whole cinema was laughing at that, and it was really, really, really awesome. But what was also really awesome is that you get to see off performance. You get to see Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth's characters off the stage as those characters, and that they're just regular citizens of New Asgard, and that was pretty damn cool, and I really, really, really like that. And yeah, you get to see that in this movie. What else do you get to see? What else do you get to see? You get to see that New Asgard is becoming this thriving new town that everyone wants to go to, while Valkyrie has this, that you see that in that Valkyrie is king right now, and she is dealing with all these things of with all these papers, all these signings and all that, and things that are happening in this town. But then she gets this opportunity to really get out there and become Valkyrie, and become this big badass in this way. And I was really, really, really happy to see the whole gang come together and become this really, really big badass. And it was really big badasses, and I was really, really happy to see this. And yeah, so right back on track. I'm probably mixing a lot of things to it. You see that you do get to go to different worlds. You get to see, you go to Zeus's, you get to go to Zeus's world and the world of the gods, but you also get to see this really cool sequence of the black and white sequence, which was a lot of fun to watch. And you get to see this badass action scene of Gore, Valkyrie, and Mighty Thor coming all together and fighting Gore the God Butcher. And that scene alone was really damn cool. And you get to see that in the first part of the movie, but then you see that Mighty Thor becomes weak, and Thor uh, and Valkyrie almost dies, but she doesn't die in this. And in that, you later on in the movie, we get to finally see the final battle, and that the kids are captured, and then and Thor comes in and stops Gore the God Butcher and saves the kids, and the kids become these really total badasses and stop these creatures that Gore the God Butcher has, and also get his Stormbreaker back. Because in the movie, you see that Gore the God Butcher, his Stormbreaker gets captured, but not I say Thor's Stormbreaker gets captured by Gore the God Butcher, and Thor must get that Stormbreaker back. And they have this big epic fight going on, and you see Mighty Thor and Thor coming together and stopping him, and it's such a badass scene, and you get to see a really badass scene of how, like, Mighty Thor, how do I say this? Mighty Thor, you get to see a really badass scene of her using the catchphrase and just Mighty Thor becoming Mighty Thor, really. And that scene was pretty awesome to see. And she's saying Mighty Thor, I'm the Mighty Thor, and using this catchphrase, which I don't really remember. Eat this hammer, eat this hammer. Yeah, I remember that one. It was such a badass scene, and then after that, we see them go into this afterworld. Gord dies. His daughter is in this afterworld, and also Jane Foster dies, and Thor must take care of Gore's daughter, and now Thor has an adopted daughter, and she's worthy of the shield, the Stormbreaker at the end. What else do you get to see in this? You see that Thor finally has his original OG Mjolnir back once again, which is really, really cool. And you also see that in the movie, Korg almost dies, but his face is alright, and he's finally back into his original form. And you see that he's finally has a new mate, and was a really, really such a cool, funny scene, and I absolutely loved it. And this movie did offer a lot of really good moments, and I think this movie overall, even though I didn't love it as much as, Ragnarok, and I think the story didn't really grip me in a way I wanted it to. I liked the story. I think the story was really good, but it just wasn't my favorite, and it didn't grip me as much as I personally wanted this story to grip me in a way that I thought Ragnarok did. But I still thought this movie had some moments, and I think this movie did have rushed character development, but I still like the characters all the same, and I still like the characters just in general. And I just like this movie overall. I think this movie is a fun, chill back, fun, solid movie for everyone to watch. And I think it's a film that I would definitely watch again on Disney Plus. So hopefully, I would say I definitely would watch again the second time when it comes to Disney Plus. So yeah, and also post-credit scenes, you get to see the introduction of Hercules, and the actor Goldstein, I think is Ben Goldstein. He plays Hercules from Ted Lasso. He's in this. That scene alone was absolutely epic, and seeing Hercules, and that's teased for Thor 5, which hopefully would definitely happen. We get to see that. What else do we get to see? We also get to see the after credits scene where Jane Foster is in Valhalla, and Heimdall, Idris Elba's Heimdall is there, and that scene was very heartwarming and really such a very nice scene to see. And that's really all there is to Thor: Love and Thunder. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and peace.